Hello and welcome back to Rocket Talk. This is episode 15. Thank you for joining us. My name is Connor. I'm joined by Court Jensen and Luke Peterson, and I bet you didn't recognize one of those names.
Wait, where's Johnny?
Johnny decided to skip out because I think he said we were holding him back or something from pursuing his dreams and aspirations. That's what it was, right?
Exactly. Not wanting to see his family because it's a pandemic and everything's shut down. It's not that at all.
No, not at all. That would be against the rules. So he's definitely not visiting family out of town. But yeah, I hope he has a good not trip down to his family's home state currently. I don't know if there's weirdos on the internet. We don't need to tell them. But anyways, yeah. So actually, a college buddy of mine named Court Jensen is going to be joining us. Court, want to introduce yourself? Where are you from? And some little fun nerd facts about you.
All right. Yeah, I'm Court Jensen. Like they said, I'm a college buddy. I was studying nearly the same things definitely the same things as you, Connor. So it was audio with a little bit of production thrown in there. So got that taken care of. Living the dream, living the post-collegiate dream of not working in your field.
Hey.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's all of us, right? Oh yeah, I think it is all of us.
I was at a newspaper for a year, but now here I am working for a wheel repair company.
I had an internship at a recording studio, and now I'm working at a bank.
It's always a chance to get it back on track. Never too late. What I've been doing in this pandemic, basically, just because I was off work on a shutdown, like most of America, for about a little over a month, and in that time, I had lofty goals of consuming all the Studio Ghibli films. I just got a handful of them. I went to Phil City with a lot of the films. I mean, basically they all have...
They're all emotional, yeah.
All emotional, so I went to Phil City. I wanted to consume a lot more than I got through, but I did not. So I think Grave of the Fireflies is what I was searching for, and that one is the most emotional one. So that took me to major Phil City, but I wanted to check that off the list because not only is it a excellent Studio Ghibli film, it's going to be ranked on the list of like, if you have 100 greatest movies that you need to see before you croak.
Oh.
It's on there. It's usually on there.
Yeah, that's definitely a bucket list movie of mine.
Is there any other movies or like video games you didn't consume in the pandemic that you wish you had?
I was still like, before the pandemic hit, I was really slacking on 2000 films, like your Oscar contenders. So there's a few that I still hadn't seen, but generally in like January and February, I went through all the great ones. Your Ford versus Ferrari and your Parasite and Jojo Rabbit became one of my favorite films of last year and this year, actually, because I slacked on Honey Boy was also in there. So there's some films I still have. Like I just recently got to Uncut Gem, which I've been slacking on.
I heard that's a quite fantastic movie.
It's fantastic.
It's good. It's disorientating sometimes though, because they talk over people and they have this slow like jazzy music all through it. I'm like, are they gonna cut this music? No, they're not gonna cut it. But beyond that, it's pretty good. So there's a lot.
Adam Sandler's pretty slimy in that movie.
Oh, he's the slimiest. But if he works with those brothers, the Safdie brothers, again, he'll be doing well. Just maybe stay away from the Netflix stuff. I mean, I'm not hating on Sandler because he made some of my favorite films. I had a whole backlog of games I never got to. I just got a Xbox One S. I had all the remasters, Resident Evil's, your Doom, not Eternal, but the one before that, the remake, all your remakes. I never got to them. So I really just need to get that backlog taken care of, because I also got like a modded Xbox, OG Xbox.
Oh, nice.
And so the big old green brick, and so it has arcade games. I've been getting into arcade games because I only got to go to arcades when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And there's I'm a fighting game fan. I'm a SNK guy. I bought a Terry Bogard hat for some reason because Impulse buys.
Wow.
And so I like beat 'em ups also.
There you go.
I dig that. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like you still have a lot to get to, but what's real quick before we move on? What is the previous most game you have actually finished?
Oh, good lord. I honestly haven't finished a game for a while. Probably just a beat 'em up because they're really like Probably Streets of Rage 2 in anticipation of the Streets of Rage 4.
Did you get 4?
I'm playing it on Game Pass.
Okay, there you go.
So I'm working my way through it. I'm a huge Streets of Rage beat 'em up, TMNT beat 'em up fan. All those cool games from that.
Nice. Yes, you are, and I bet you play those games as well. Other than yourself being a beat 'em up kind of person.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So let's dive right on into nerd news now. We got plenty of stuff to talk about today. The first thing I want to touch with you guys is Amazon and AMC. So I guess AMC has not been doing too well as of recent, and they
listeners to our podcast would know this.
Yeah.
Ford would know this. He listens to our podcast.
He does. Yeah, he's our number one fan, and he's a host. So yeah, thank you. So it sounds like there's rumors going around. Nothing's been confirmed yet that Amazon might buy out AMC. So are they going to have to set up some sort of a reward system? Is there going to be like AMC Prime? Are they going to have Whole Foods built into it? I don't know. But let's dive on into that topic.
Honestly, first, I don't like this. Like, Amazon's big enough already.
Exactly.
It's one of those that I have a love-hate relationship with Amazon. I spend a lot of money on that site because you can get anything you want on it. You can buy a car on Amazon if you really want to now, and it's like, that's awesome. But do we really need to give Jeff Bezos more money?
I was thinking that too.
This man already
small
has
business,
way too much money. Does he need more? But
the resounding answer is no.
I mean, no one should have as much money as this one man has. But that's a whole discussion for a different day. I am
some sort of commie or something. Ugh.
I'm interested to see how this would work though, because like Amazon technically does have a film studio, and like they have to figure something out because unless it gets overturned, there was a Supreme Court case that made it so you cannot own a movie studio and a movie theater to kind of so that you don't have one over the other. And so it'd be interesting to see would they sell their studio, or so powerful they could just not have to deal with that. Mm-hmm. But I think that as much as Amazon doesn't need this, a company that could help make the theater industry more profitable probably could be Amazon. I feel like they're one of those that they'll figure something out to bring movie theaters a little more to the 21st century things, and we'll see. But I don't think this is a good idea personally. That's just me.
Court, what do you think, as consumers ourselves, what do you think an Amazon theater would look like? What would we see walking in through those doors?
The facade would be all sparkly and clean now. It would obviously be plastered with their logos and probably banners saying consolidate your AMC movie pass with your AMC Prime pass or something, combining ads for that out the wazoo to try to get people to basically consolidate to purchase more revenue in Amazon, because this goes without saying, like, the people who have the Amazon Prime spend more, so they want to consolidate those passes all into one if they were to buy that. I think like Bezos would be like a flag waver of like glory if he were to turn around a movie theater that's on the bank. Well, they're gonna probably file for bankruptcy, and I think he would be like, "Oh, well, look what we did. We're Amazon. We turned around this.
We saved businesses.
We came in here Reggie Fils-Aimé, ex-Nintendo style, and turned around this. And also, they want those first look picture deals. They want to be an Oscar contender." And they can bring in their Amazon whatever studio films, and they can also bring in their TV shows to have first premiere episodes. So those are the good and the bad.
Exactly.
Yeah. I know, Connor, you made a joke that there'll be a Whole Foods in there, but I do wonder what they will do with stuff, because Amazon did buy Twitch, and Twitch is the biggest streaming host site thing, and and there's Twitch Prime that you get. If you have Twitch Prime, you get a bunch of exclusive deals. You play GTA 5. Oh, hey, you have Twitch Prime. Here's a free $1 million. Oh, you play Call of Duty. Here's a skin, and oh, here's some benefits you can use for Twitch. I wonder what things like that they'll pull into the movie theater industry. Something kind of similar to what AMC and some of the other ones have had with the stubs, and I forgot what their movie pass is called. You can see X amount of movies in a week, or I see stuff like that. But
we had like the Xbox One was supposed to be year one, entertainment hub. I could see Amazon trying to go for the same thing, and within the same ballpark. Amazon is going to be one source
of everything,
entertainment, everything shopping wise. So that would be it would be really interesting to see, like, if this pushes theaters into the 21st century or the 22nd century, or are we going to see this maybe a failed attempt for Amazon because theaters just aren't as big anymore and they're going to continue to decline? I'm not really sure. Do you guys think that theaters are ever going to not die but get close to it?
I don't know. It's hard because you have the same thing almost with like live TV. This is the same argument we've had. Well, is live TV dead? But there's still those shows like Game of Thrones, and was on. Game of Thrones was a big one that people watched, and you had live tweeting. Bachelor, Survivor, Lost when it was on. Like there's all these shows that people tune into outside of sports. The Last Dance is a perfect example of this too. The Michael Jordan basketball documentaries. People are live tweeting this. It's just a 10-part documentary series on a basketball, and so people are live tweeting that. So even though live TV has been dying over the last few years because everyone just DVRs it, there still is things. You still have your Disney movies that still just print money. I mean, like Star Wars, the MCU, Pixar, those things all are movies that are in the top box office lists every year because people still, of course they'll go see Toy Story 5. Like, it's Toy Story. Like, people are going to do that. People are going to go and see their 15th Star Wars. So I don't know if it'll necessarily die. We'll see more, probably some smaller theaters continue to die just because it's a hard industry to uphold because tickets get pricier. Concessions are expensive. As equipment at home get better and better, sure, you can't go watch it on a movie theater screen at your homes, but I have a 50-inch 4K TV. I can watch movies and they'll look really good at my home, and it's a fraction of the cost.
Yeah, people can have their own home theaters, so technologies continue to get better. You brought up a good point with the concessions and the ticket prices. Would something like this skyrocket ticket prices? Because now the theaters, if all of our theories are correct, they're consolidating a lot of things like Whole Foods attached or something like that. Do you think we're going to see even pricier tickets and concessions?
I mean, inflation's a thing, so they're going to go up just because inflation has make things go up. A ticket to go see one of the prequel Star Wars movies is a lot cheaper than it was to go see the sequel trilogy. So, and that's just stuff from 15, 20 years ago. So it's, I don't know,
but like a noticeable jump.
Maybe, but I don't know. Amazon has so much money, and like they could probably, if they want to be nice about it, they could probably do it where they don't have to raise prices that much, or prices will stay the same if you have Amazon Prime, and then they'll only go up if you don't have Prime. Kind of like when you shop at Kroger. You need a Kroger card to get all the sales, but getting a Kroger card's so easy that like you basically should always be able to get sales. So that's just me. I don't know. I don't know how much this will really do. But one thing that was funny about it is how the AMC TV channel saw their stocks actually be affected by these rumors. Because people are dumb and don't realize that AMC and AMC Theaters are two different companies. That just made me laugh.
It's
I really don't think there's any merit in them buying it, just because why would you do that when you can buy a whole theater chain?
They could just buy the rights to The Walking Dead if they really want it. Like that's
Right.
that's like one of the only reasons I'd really see them wanting the TV channel.
Movie theaters are really going to have to assess what's going on with the VOD.
Yeah.
The VOD market's huge with your Trolls and everything that's coming to there. People learn. I think it's psychology where people learn behaviors. You give them a month and they'll pick up. They can learn a new behavior. Well, we've been at home for months and months, and we have access to VOD. So maybe it's going to be hard to go out. Maybe I don't think a theater can thrive on just your big.
Yeah, they still need those that'll come for your chick flicks, your religious movie that gets the church crowd going, the sappy, the Oscar movies, the ones that are made to win an Oscar, like
the really artsy ones.
Yeah, the ones that you're not going to get at the Hangar in Maryville. But
the Hangar in Maryville gets us the finest entertainment that the industry has to offer. What are you? What are you
like
talking
Minions.
Nuts?
Minions.
Yeah.
Heavy Minions.
But moving on, we move on to another topic. The Unreal 5 engine got its PS4 demo, and so this was released earlier this past week, and I don't know how much of it you guys saw, but it basically, what's funny is this tech demo of a not a real game had more gameplay than the gameplay reveal from the Xbox Series X. But man, this thing looked beautiful.
It was jaw-dropping.
Yeah, so you don't have to go too in-depth besides how impressive it looks, but it was nice to, because now we've seen a little bit of Xbox stuff, we've seen a little bit of PlayStation stuff, and there's a lot of raw power that we're going to be getting with these new systems. These first couple years, as everyone's kind of tinkering around, it's going to be fun. But, once we get about 3 years into the new life cycle, it's going to be crazy to see what type of stuff we get. Like, if we're getting stuff like what we had with Unreal 5 as a development kit, what are we going to get in 2-3 years?
Yeah, I can't wait to start taking this for granted and being like,
For
oh,
sure.
man, PS5, oh, that's so outdated. Looks terrible.
Yeah, it is crazy, just like how each generation there's that jump you get. Like, I remember when like the PS2 first came out and you were playing your Maddens and your NCAA footballs, and it's like, oh my gosh, this looks like I'm actually watching the football game. And then you go look at it now, and it's just like, what? With each jump it gets more and more realistic, and we're getting to the point now where it's just more just the fidelity, it's the textures that are getting up higher, and it's the particle effects, because they can make stuff that looks super realistic now. But besides the fact that it looks cool, did you guys really have anything else you wanted to add with the whole Unreal 5 engine tech demo?
Triangle.
Lots of triangles.
If you were a fan of triangles, man, this presentation was
For sure.
but no, light sourcing was awesome. One thing I want to touch on is they said this can run on like cell phone, tablets, mobile device. Like, it's very applicable to different devices. And if it looks that good, just what they were showing, that's amazing that it would look great on tablets, because mobile games have not been that great in the past.
Yeah, they've taken a step up each time too. I have Apple Arcade, and I have the iPhone version of Team Sonic Racing. It's just called, I think, Sonic Racing. And yeah, it looks worse than it does on the PS4 or the Xbox One or the PC, but it still looks solid. And so as the phone chips keep getting better and better, it'll be nice to see just what it does come with that. But luckily, that was not the only gameplay reveal thing we got this week. With the PlayStation, with the PS4, we also got Ghost of Tsushima, which is the new Sucker Punch game, and it's one that I haven't really been keeping much of a close eye on, even though I love the Infamous series. They're some of my favorite games that I've played on the PlayStation family of consoles. And while I never played Sly Cooper, I know that the Sly Cooper series is a beloved adventure platformer series. But oh my goodness, does this game look gorgeous. Sony did a State of Play, which is their equivalent of a Nintendo Direct, and they did one just on this game where they showed just some of the ways you can move around the map, the combat, some of the bonus cosmetic features. But this game is one of the prettiest things I have ever seen.
It was absolutely gorgeous, and
it's amazing.
You were talking about something cool about the like waypoints or something like that makes it different than having a beacon in the sky.
It's an open world game, and so instead of you set a waypoint, going back to Unreal Engine, which is made by Epic Games, who made Fortnite. If you play Fortnite and you set a waypoint on the map, they have it so whatever your associated color of that game is, blue, red, whatever, there'll be a big beam that's glowing in the sky. Okay, there's where the area I want to go to on this game is. And they're not going with that in Tsushima. They're really going for your natural, grounded, realistic look. And so you put down a waypoint. So, okay, I'm over here at the top of the mountain. I want to go down to this village. And what will guide you is wind instead of some big arrow in the sky. So you'll look up at the wind, and the wind's blowing to the left. Okay, I got to go left. And there'll be birds and foxes and like smoke signals. There'll be things that'll be going around throughout the world that can say, oh, there's a smoke signal. That there must be a person there for a side quest instead of a big exclamation point above their head.
That's really cool, and it's a really subtle way, but like creative way of forcing you to get deeper and deeper into the game.
Get immersed. Yeah.
Yes.
Another one. So with customization, you'll be able to change your outfits, because a big thing about the game with the combat is it's a mixture of your samurai, noble, it's a standoff, and then you strike first, and once you're done, you kind of bow in respect to your fallen enemy. Or so there's that side, and then there's the ghost side of it, where it's more just a kill by any means necessary, and it's a lot more stealth based, a lot more of that, where you kind of want to plan what you want to do. And with your cosmetic changes, you can change your armor so it'll benefit you more if you want to be more stealthy. So you'll be quicker, you'll have less clunky stuff on, or you can have, you want to be more of your samurai, where you're going to just walk around holding the sword and just waiting, where you can have some more armor. It's a little clunkier, but you're more protected. And then one of the other things they're doing with that is with the cosmetic, you can change the color of it, and it's not just like, I found... you just like, I'm just going to go make it red. You have to go find plants that have like natural dyes in them. So then you can, if you want to change it from a cloth white to a red, you have to go find a dye. And if the dye is red, then you do that. So it's a lot of stuff like that to make it realistic. And since it's heavily inspired by the classic samurai films, one of the other things they have in there is a filter that makes it look like you're watching an old black and white samurai film. So it has a little bit of film grain to it. It's all black and white. You can set the game to where they're only speaking in Japanese with subtitles, so you can make it like you're watching a real samurai.
Like Samurai
That's
Cop.
the thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh god. That's the thing that appeals to me, because I on Turner Classic Movies, because I'm an old guy, I watch that.
Hey, Court's old.
Court's old.
Yeah.
Do we want to reveal to the audience?
Nah, we'll keep that as a secret.
Older than me and Connor.
Yes.
Everyone guess.
So last month they had the Akira Kurosawa film festival. So he's the guy that did all these grainy Japanese samurai films like you're just talking about. So he did Yojimbo and Seven Samurai. So that's what really appeals to me, that I can actually play a Kurosawa based film. It looks like that to me, and I touching on the way, or like the visual clues, like other games, like you said, they have like sky portal like things to guide you, but I love the visual clues with the foxes, the wind, the waypoints, and like spawning to an area is where you like pray to, I don't know, like a temple, a shrine. That's a pretty cool idea. Touches folklore.
Yeah, so I definitely recommend going and watching that state of play if you haven't yet. But yeah, so the game will come out in a couple months. You'll be Jin. I'm not going to last name, but he is one of the last samurais left on Tsushima Island during the first Mongol invasion of Japan in the 1270s. And so the game was actually supposed to come out a little over a month from now on June 26th, but with the pandemic, things got moved around, and The Last of Us got delayed to the week prior of that in June. And so this game is now coming out July 17th. And speaking of July 17th, we actually have another name. So we have one of Sony's big swan song PlayStation going out with the PlayStation games with Ghost of Tsushima. And then the big N, Nintendo, announced a first-party game for the first time in
Look at those guys.
Who knows how long. But
doing their business, dropping games.
Just dropping games out of nowhere. But yes, we are now getting a new Paper Mario game. And so we will be getting Paper Mario, the Origami King, also coming out on July 17th. And so we'll continue the Paper Mario series, but now there's an origami twist to it. So I've never played a Paper Mario game. I'm not much of an RPG fan, but this definitely did look interesting. Have you guys ever played any of the Paper Mario games?
I have not.
Yes.
All right, Court. So why don't you give your thoughts then on it, since you're a seasoned Paper Mario player?
Sure. It looks very different. I mean, the mechanics of looks like you have to be in a circular ring, and then the way you line up your attacks with enemy will get you more hits on them. You have to be precise. If you don't line it up correctly, the way I understand, you could lose out on some combat abilities. The games that I played mostly had like you were on a stage with an audience. The audience kind of like interact with you. So it's different in that way. It looks a lot darker. I think they gradually through these Paper Marios, and I also played a little bit of the Mario RPG. looks like they're getting darker and darker with the princess angle to it.
Yeah, seriously, with her like turning.
She's
like,
a little out of character, but I think
This looks
she's
like a
also
horror
possessed.
game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like they're taking elements from some horror stuff. Yeah, like I said, I've never played them. I do know that some of the more recent entries has kind of soured some fans because they've slowly kind of changed the gameplay format. But from what we know, both what's been said and then just from a little bit we can make it from the trailer, a lot of fans that have that didn't like how Color Splash and Sticker Star handled combat are happy to know that it looks like it's going back to more of an action-oriented RPG style that the original first couple games had. But yeah, as someone who's never, like I said, I've never played Paper Mario. I'm not really much of a RPG person myself. I've never just like really enjoyed them, but it'll be interesting to see what does come with this and how it does. If it's one of those that it looks like I might have fun with it, maybe I'll pick it up down the line as well, but it should be fun. What about you, Connor? Since you also are not much of an RPG guy, are you looking at getting this?
This does look very interesting. My wife is really excited about this, so she's probably going to buy it. I'll watch her play, and if it looks as fun as the trailer shows, I'll probably pick it up myself. But that being said, I don't know if I would personally spend money on this myself. So, I mean, Paper Mario is a title that I've been meaning to play. I just haven't gotten to. I hear great things about Thousand Year Door, so I should probably play it at some point just for some nerd cred.
Yeah, I probably should too, but we'll see. Yeah, I know the first three are pretty beloved with Paper Mario 1000 Year Door on the GameCube, and then Super Paper Mario on the Wii, and then it's Sticker Star and Color Splash that everyone
It
just
gets
like
kind of hairy.
yeah.
in that.
So we'll have this, and we'll have another nice new game coming out, and we had even more video game news this week, and this one made me very happy. On Mr. Tony Hawk's 52nd birthday, he announced that Activision is remastering Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, and so that'll be coming out this September, and it's going to be rebuilt from the ground up. Vicarious Visions, who handled the Crash Bandicoot remaster,
Oh yeah,
will be handling this instead of Robomoto and the other team, the ones who handled some of the more recent Tony Hawk games that were quite bad. So,
were they the ones that did the remaster of them from like 2012 or whatever it was?
Yeah. So Robomoto, because the original company that made Tony Hawk games was NeverSoft. That's the one who had like the eyeball logo, and so they made the first few Tony Hawk games, and then after Tony Hawk Proving Ground in 2007, Activision was like, hey, Harmonix left to go make this new game Rock Band. NeverSoft, you're now in charge of Guitar Hero. So they made Guitar Hero 3 up to Guitar Hero 6 before they were like, all right, time to put Guitar Hero to bed. And then they had them work with Infinity Ward on Call of Duty, and then in 2014, Activision was like, okay, you guys are merging in with Infinity Ward. So now whoever was left at NeverSoft is now working on Call of Duty. But after NeverSoft left, they had Robomoto start with Tony Hawk Ride and
Is
Shred.
that the one with the peripheral?
Yeah, Ride and Shred are the two with the the physical skateboards that did not do well. And then they did Tony Hawk Pro Skater HD, which was like an HD remaster of the first ones, but they didn't get the physics all the way down, and it was okay, but it was not one that held up well. And but the other big one that they flopped with was when the Tony Hawk Pro Skater contract was about to go up. Activision was like, oh crap, we should pump out one more game. So they put out Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5, and it just was a disaster, and that game was very bad. And
Thanks, I hate it.
yeah, and so they're not working on it. We're getting Vicarious Visions, who has worked on some good games, like I said, including they did the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy remaster, and they've done
Spyro.
It was Toys for Bob who did. They helped with it, but they were the main ones behind Insane Trilogy, and so but they've helped out on the Skylander series, Destiny, Guitar Hero. They made Crash Nitro Kart. They have a solid track record. Like they only have a few games that are kind of poor, but out of like their passion projects, like they did with Insane Trilogy, I think turned out incredible. So I'm a lot more not as hesitant as I would be after Tony Hawk 5 came out because it's Vicarious Visions doing it. But yeah, it's going to be a ton of fun. They're going to be rebuilding the game from the ground up. Actually, according to Jen O'Neill, the Vicarious Visions studio head, they were able to get the original handling code from Neversoft. So Neversoft still had that. So that helped him. Because that's a huge thing that has hurt remakes. The Crash games, the Spyro games, they weren't able to get the original source code. So they had to rebuild it from the ground up. And that's why the physics are just a hair off on those games. So this one they can...
Insane Trilogy is so hard.
I mean,
Maybe
also...
just me. Maybe I just suck.
Well, yeah, that too. But also, Crash 1 was hard before it had the different physics to begin with. But yeah, so since they have it, they're going to have all that. And the best part, too, is we also got confirmed most of the licensed songs from the first 2 games are going to return. There's only a couple that won't be in as of right now due to some licensing issues. But the best thing is Superman by Goldfinger will still be in it, the anthem of Tony Hawk. So
that is the undisputed theme. Along with Rage.
Of course. Could you imagine how apeshit the fans would go if they got Superman?
Oh man, that'd be horrible. I wouldn't even buy the game.
The only thing that disappointed me, and I can live with it because I can turn on the music while I can turn down the sound and turn on this particular song. The only thing that disappointed me was Bring the Noise by Anthrax and Public Enemy not being. But seeing all these mechanics, seeing the fresh coat of paint, the photorealistic.
Oh my! It looks insane.
Looks amazing.
Backgrounds, the lighting source, I can live with just no Flavor Flav right now.
Yeah. So right now there is no Screamer / Nothing to Me by Speed Dealer, Psycho Vision by Suicidal Tendencies, Committed by Unsane, Bring the Noise by Anthrax and Public Enemy, B-Boy Document 99 by The High and Mighty, Mos Def and Mad Skills, and then Out with the Old by Alley Life. So yeah, it's like I'm bummed that some of these aren't on there, but yeah, the main thing is that we still have Superman, we still have Police Truck by the Dead Kennedys, there's still Guerrilla Radio by Rage, there's still Blood Brothers by Papa Roach. So
the majority, they got the majority of it, which is impressive enough since it's been what was this, 99?
99 was when the first one came out, yeah. So this will be 21 years for Pro Skater 1, and then it'll be about 2 weeks shy of being 20 years from Tony Hawk 2. So this is
That's
awesome.
impressive. And what's really cool is I guess they're adding some moves and some tricks into this title that was from like Pro Skater 4, Pro Skater 3, and stuff like that. I think it's to increase replay value.
Yeah, because the first one you couldn't manual, and there's a few other just like skateboarding things that they didn't have in the first couple games. That once it's one of those that as much fun as Tony Hawk 1 is, once you play 3 and 4 and you go back to 1 and 2, there's some elements that's like, ooh, I really wish it had this. And so yeah, that'll be cool to see. And then the other one I hope is that they have all the hidden characters in. It'd be really cool if they could get some of the...
They had Spider-Man.
Yeah, so I hope Spider-Man's there, or some of the hidden characters that are in some of the other Tony Hawk games. Because like Jango Fett is in Tony Hawk 4.
That's going to be hard to get that license.
But,
I mean...
Yeah, because... or like Shrek was in Tony Hawk Underground 2.
Oh, I wish that'd be...
But, yeah, I don't know how much of those we'll get.
For what I understand, the full skate crew is back there. They actually came in and scanned those guys' faces. You got,
oh my god.
Bob Burnquist, you got Bucky Lassick. I always like the name Bucky. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Do you have a metal arm by any chance? Sorry, that was lame. That was really lame.
Bad joke, Connor.
But this is definitely something I might actually shell money out for. This looks awesome.
Yeah, and since it's a remake, it's coming, and they're not Nintendo. They are doing a budget price for it as well, so you don't have to go out and drop $60 to get this game. So that is nice as well. Yeah, and they actually had a exclusive like special edition that had a real skateboard you got at the tube. Those things sold out right away.
It was $100, and that seemed very cheap for a skateboard.
Yeah, but yeah, it's $40 to get the base game or the collector edition for $100. And so yeah, with the collector edition, you get the full game, the digital deluxe edition content, which they haven't announced what that would be, but then a full size Birdhouse skateboard deck with Tony Hawk's signature on the design too on it. So
It's impressive.
Anyone have $100 burning a hole in their pocket?
yeah, well these are like all sold out. So you can't, the collector editions are all gone. Maybe a couple will pop up, but
I shouldn't be on wheels. I'm clumsy.
yeah, for sure. But but also if you pre-order at GameStop, you will get a tech deck. And it's not a tech deck brand one, so they don't call it, but you get a Tony Hawk mini fingerboard. So
That's
if you pre-order that, yeah, you'll be able to, and it's a different design than the deluxe edition one will be. And they're also adding it that you can get if you pre-order it digitally, you get access to a demo early. So to throw it back to the olden days. But
I briefly saw like a news piece that said no microtransactions.
Well, so I mean that's what they've said with a bunch of the last Call of Duties, and they had them in. That's what they said with Crash Team Racing, and then they added them in. So it'll probably launch without it, and then they'll be like, wait a second, a lot of people bought this. But
Talking with the CEO of EA or something.
Yeah, it's one of those that as long as it's cosmetic only, I don't care. They can do that. But if they want to add them in, then they should say we're not going to add it at the start. Depending on how the game launches, we might add them in later. As long as they like tell us that they could come, then I don't care if microtransactions come as long as it's like cosmetic only. But that's just me.
Do you think this will be the start of like more remasters if it's received well, like Underground?
I mean, maybe.
The other games?
It's so funny because like after how bad Pro Skater 5 was, Tony Hawk didn't renew the license, and then he went and made another game on mobile phones, and that was just as bad. So it's funny that he's coming back. I don't know. I feel like that would be the next step, is to do the other two Pro Skaters and then the Underground games. But then after that, you kind of have to stop, because after that is really like with Proving Ground and Downhill Jam. That's when you really start to see kind of a split in the fan base. Those first 6 games of the 4 Pro Skaters and the 2 Underground is really the only ones that people are like, yes, I want these.
This is kind of unrelated, but maybe if this is successful, maybe they'll get the idea to bring SSX, which was like a snowboarding game.
Yes.
Really loved.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I loved
EA wants to bring
SSX.
that back. But yeah,
I'm surprised they haven't yet.
I know, especially with the I'm sure it's coming just because of how much nostalgia. But the great thing about this Tony Hawk thing is that it kind of got us talking about just games getting revived or sequels we'd want. So that can move us into our topic of the week for this week. So like the revival of the Tony Hawk series, this week's topic is building a new entry for a franchise we like. So it'll be a nice sequel for something. So all of us will give a game, and then we'll kind of go over our what if it has a story mode, what the story mode will be like, some gameplay things we want to have, about how long we want it, other things we want to see, like the direction of the soundtrack, any bonus games, DLC if applicable, and more. So I'll start us off. Mine would be a Sonic game. Essentially,
What?
I know, hard to believe. Essentially, I would make a Sonic Adventure 3. I don't know if you want to call it that, because there'll just be too much hype associated with it that if it doesn't live up to people's expectations. But I want something similar to the adventure games or 06, but not rushed, where you have multiple play styles, you have each character kind of has their own unique abilities, and it has some nice variety, but we don't need fishing, we don't need all that stuff. So for what I'd have for gameplay, I thought of 5 different gameplay styles. They could add or move a couple things, but I want basically Sonic and Shadow to be playable like they are in the modern Boost games. But I just want some more paths that you can go through on the level, similar to Seaside Hill was on Sonic Generations, where you can go straight, you can kind of go down the bottom on the water. I just want multiple paths, because some of these more recent Boost games, it's been too linear, and then you basically just hold the Boost button and occasionally jump, and that's not as fun. I want it to where there's a lot more going on, but basically just take the Boost formula and just continue to refine it. And so like that would be it with Sonic. They can have Shadow playable that way too, maybe give him a couple extra mechanics to be slightly different. I want Silverback as playable as well. I want him to play like he did in 06, just with better physics. So it's not as bad. No weird giant ball thing. Try to get it all the way down a corridor like it is on Dusty Desert.
Do you want him to be of some use?
Yes.
Or no use at all?
It would be nice to have him be some use instead of no use. The other one is Omega. I'd like to see Omega be playable, have him similar to what Gamma was like in Adventure 1 or Tails and Eggman and the mechs were in SA2. Just an on-rails type of shooter thing, that can mix some platforming and just slow it down a little bit from Sonic, but it's not like it's a chug. Tails, I'd want to see Tails playable, but kind of do something different with him. With Tails being so smart and like a genius, a thinker, a worker, I will kind of want something a little more heavy puzzle element one. So his can be maybe a little like his levels have a little bit more of a puzzle element to it. I don't know how they can do it, but I just think that'd be cool to play with how Tails is as a character, to where he has to problem solve to beat his levels, not as much of a get from point A to point B, but as fast as you can. And I mean, obviously people would figure that out because it's Sonic, so there's speedrunners. And then have Knuckles playable and do treasure hunting like it was in the Adventure games. Just don't gimp the radar like they did in Adventure 2. Story-wise,
Regular Knuckles or Ugandan?
regular Knuckles,
Okay, just making.
We don't need to know D-Way. But another thing I'd want, story-wise, I kind of going back to making it kind of like an Adventure 3, I kind of want it to be what Forces wanted to set out to be, but actually where it's a kind of a mixture of a serious tone, but it still has the lighthearted elements because you're a blue hedgehog running around. So I want to have it where it's, it takes itself seriously, but there's not a human kissing a hedgehog. And it doesn't say stuff like, oh, Sonic was tortured for 6 months, and then he's wisecracking jokes. Like, if it wants to take itself seriously, then have stakes to make it serious.
Exactly.
And so that'd be something else I'd want.
What kind of stakes would...
I don't know. Just the kind of... it'll be the same kind of trope of Eggman tries to take over the world. I think it's just a bummer that they kind of already did it with Forces of the Eggman basically won, and now you have to come back and take back over the world, because that was such a good concept. And then there's like, oh, with Sonic on, Eggman took over 95% of the world, and it's just like, cool. They don't show it, and
yeah, maybe actually show his Death Star.
Yeah, I just don't know. The only issue is since it's Forces was the most recent one, people be like, okay, this is just like Forces again. I just something where it's a more serious story, even if that means Eggman once again, finds some other ancient deity that he brings out from whatever thing sealed it and takes over the world that way, like in Adventure and 06 and Unleashed. But and then in the direction of the soundtracks, I would want to see something similar to Adventure 2 as well, where each character kind of has their own like set theme, like Sonic will have kind of the heavy guitar, rock and roll, where maybe Omega can be more techno. Knuckles can bring back the rap, and just stuff that like can kind of fit their personalities more. And of course, a Chow Garden returning. It's been too long. We haven't seen the Chow Garden in a mainline Sonic. The only thing we've seen the Chow Garden in was in the advanced titles and then the GameCube ports of Adventure. So we haven't seen the Chow Garden in about 15 years, more than that. So let's bring it back. And
so would you? I mean, there's so many different reasons that the Sonic games have not been hitting as hard, like especially with Forces. You said it was way too linear, but it sounds like for the story it's just tone. Tone makes it, or at least so far they haven't made any sense, or at least they go between too many different tones to juggle too much.
One thing I would do is, starting with colors, they had a couple different guys that have been writing most of the stories, and these, I'm not nothing against these guys that have been writing them, but like they don't really understand the Sonic, just like the Sonic lore. And so it's just ones that like it's like the writing has just been so like trying too hard to be kiddie, and I get this is a game for kids, but like it's one of those where it's trying too hard with it. It's not as much of them like going where it's a lighter hearted story with some stuff, because it's Ken Pontac and Warren Graff, and so they've worked on Mad World, Happy Tree Friends, and it's like they've written some good stuff, but I just don't know how much they really have down the Sonic series as much. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how it would be coming from it, but like one I'd like to see is Ian Flynn, who is one of the main writers for the comic that's on IDW. But how much of it can he translate a comic to a game? But one thing that he's done is he has taken like what's just crap he was left with Forces and tried to write a compelling story with the IDW comics to take place post Forces. So I just want to see just better writing. It doesn't need to be The Last of Us, but it also can have some more depth to it. So that would be mine with it. So
I'd be down to play that game.
Yeah, basically, and
right.
then to make this game good, I mean, Sonic Team wouldn't be making it either because I don't think they can make a good game anymore. So that would be my game. But what about you, then, Connor? What would you do? I know you're a big Left 4 Dead guy. Would you do finally a third Left 4 Dead?
Well, yeah, this is assuming that Valve even knows how to count to 3. So, I mean, how is it that Half-Life can have like 4 titles or something like that and yet not have a third?
Yes.
Like, how? Okay, that's fine. Whatever.
Well, I mean, it's like Final Fantasy. We're technically there's 15 mainline entries, but there's like 10 different versions of Final Fantasy 15. So,
okay, you guys can create these worlds, these universes from the ground up using code and stuff like them to count. Whatever. So yeah, Luke, you got it absolutely right. I would be making a Left 4 Dead 3. And this is, so I was playing Dead Island, and I was getting a little bit of inspiration from there that it would be great to see maybe the Left 4 Dead games take them to maybe island hopping or something like that. Maybe they're in Hawaii for one of the locations, and they can use a boat to get from island to island. And something I would want to incorporate is usually when you get into a boat, you're safe and you just move on to the next location or whatever. But with this, if zombies get in the boat with you, you have to kill all of them there in order to move on to the next place. Ooh. And so that would be, it would add a little bit of the stakes, and so you would get that breath of fresh air, like, oh, thank God I made it to the boat. But this time we're going to take that away, and you have to keep fighting until you're safe. I mean, obviously keep the city settings in there, keep swamp levels because they're really cool. Maybe with this one we could have like a snow-capped mountain, and the weather can play a part. So like the zombies rise up out of the snow. Maybe you can't quite see them because of the wind and the snow until they get like reasonably close. That would be something really, really cool. These are some special infected ideas I have, and maybe you guys can bounce some ideas off of me as well. So with the special infected, let's just rip off Call of Duty. Let's have zombie dogs. That would be really cool. They need to fetch their souls.
I want to see skiing zombies. Now that you brought up this snow covered hill.
That'd be
skiing zombies.
I don't know, man.
I mean, it makes sense that like you can have other creatures with it, like having a dog or a zombie cat or whatever, something. Because then, like you can get some variety where it's not just, oh, here's a human that he's been a zombie so long that now he can do this. It's oh, here's a zombie bear. Like that.
God, that would be terrifying.
Zombie bears. It'd be cool if the different areas you'd be in would be different than different enemies that show up. So yeah, if you're on like more of a snowy mountain in Colorado, there's a bear, and then you're in more of like, let's say you're in African Sahara, and then there's a lion. Like just stuff like that. Like that'd be a ton of fun, and just some ways to kind of break it up so each area doesn't feel like, okay, the desert area is the same as a snow area, just sand instead of snow, or it makes it so it's unique in each area you go to while still being the same kind of game.
Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2, all those zombies are in every area. They're all the same. So if it's in a snow-capped mountain, maybe have a blue zombie that dies out in the zombies and was turned into a cold-resistant zombie. And when it grabs you, it makes you really, really cold, or maybe has like a cold breath blast or something. So now it's necessary to find like hand warmers, feet warmers, or maybe a hot food or drink to heal you. Or maybe it's implied that all of those things are in the med kit. So you still have to heal, even if you're really, really cold. You're about to get hypothermia. Something along those lines. Maybe I was also thinking of another one, maybe a spider-like zombie that can hang down from the ceiling using like muscles and tendons and it's gross and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm picturing The Thing.
Yes.
How horrific those aliens were.
Yeah. It's not like it can jump down and run around, but it would just hang down and try to grab you. But you can easily like walk around it or something like that. It would be cool to see those. Maybe they can like like I was thinking maybe they could like try to grab you with a web, kind of like Spider-Man style, but then I was thinking no, like we already have the smoker who can grab you with his tongue. Somewhere else, maybe we could have like a Slender Man zombie that has a really, really long reach, which would be really cool. So even if there's a horde of zombies around you, it can reach across all of those, and so it would be a little bit harder to get them. Maybe their weak point is their legs, and you chop them down, or you shoot at the legs, or something like that, or their joints. So yeah, that would be really, really cool to see stuff like that. Maybe. And also, just off the top of my head, maybe we go to these areas, there doesn't have to be zombie dogs, zombie bears. Maybe they can be a mixture of zombie and regular bears,
that's a good
regular
idea
dogs.
too,
Because they don't all have to be dead.
Yeah, and then you can have that thing too where you can have zombie bears and regular bears, and so then there's kind of the different things you can do with it too. So this is interesting. I've never played Left 4 Dead. That's one of those I never really got into. I guess I have like played it at a friend's house like a couple times, but like never really like sat down and played through the campaign. But this would definitely be interesting and great to finally see Valve counting to 3.
Yeah, there's not one dash, there's 2. Oh, there's a third dash next to this title.
Oh, no.
What is going on here? They don't have to completely reinvent the wheel for this title. They can just like keep it the way that the fans love it. They love that nostalgia, and just add little things here and there. So you get further into the titles, and they've eventually just changed so much that they eased into the change.
Yeah, they don't need to do a whole lot that like can really like. They need to do enough that makes it seem like a new game, but they don't need to do a lot. Because one of the big ones, I'm going back to zombie games. I love Call of Duty Zombies. I actually was playing it on the Twitch a couple nights ago, and one of the things that I loved about the first couple World at War and Black Ops 1 zombies is that it's so simple. You go play on Nocturne Tootin' and like you just are surviving. There's not a bunch of extra bells and whistles you have to do. On the Black Ops 3 version with the Zombie Chronicles DLC, you now have the gobblegum effects and some of the perks, and so yeah, there's a few more things, but you can still just get your weapons and then go post up top next to the stairs and then just mow them down. Where you play some of the maps in later games like Zetsubo no Shima and Black Ops 3 or any of the Black Ops 4 maps, you have to do 15 things before you can be like fully set up and you can finally like be playing it to play. It's a chore, and that's been a big thing that people have bashed on the more recent zombie maps. You have to do 15 different things just so you can have a pack-a-punch gun and you can shoot this zombie. So it'd be nice to see just a refined version of what we got in the
Exactly. So, Court, what about you? What do you got for us? A deep cut.
I have one more point to add to yours, just because I want to see this, and it's kind of biting off of Zombieland 2, but it's something I've never seen. Is I would like them to like have a level in Washington D.C., obviously in the White House.
That would be cool.
A Congress of dead zombie. I mean, we've done the mall to death, both in video games, obviously in the movie. So I'd just like to see Washington D.C., the White House with zombified, and the Lincoln Memorial, stuff like that, where you can wander around a little bit. But what I got going on is I'm going to dust off a bad boy from the past.
show your age.
Yes, absolutely. Some people might actually know this, maybe not. I don't know. It's from 1991, but the cartoon series and the comic series goes way back before that into the mid 80s. So it's called Bucky O'Hare and the Toad Wars. It was created by Larry Hama. If that name doesn't ring true, it might for like my generation of 80s, 90s kids. He gave many of the revival of the G.I. Joes their personality. He did a lot of cartoons, and so this was a passion project for him to do. And so he created this universe that's I don't know, it bites off of this thing called Star Wars.
Oh, I know that thing.
What? Star what?
Star Wars. Have you? I don't know if you ever heard that.
No, does not ring a bell.
Not familiar? Okay. It had 2 simultaneous games in 1 year. So in 1992, it had an NES platformer, and then simultaneously it was an arcade with the beat 'em up.
Dude, I love how goofy it was, like with the mid '90s with games like there's so many of these where it's like, oh yes, here's an arcade version, here's an NES version and a PC version, and they're completely different.
Absolutely. This was like the anthropomorphic animal craze still was going on with your Ninja Turtles kicking it off, Street Sharks, SWAT Cats, all these weird
Simpsons.
Simpsons, all these weird things were kicking off, and so this followed suit. I think it only had the one season of the cartoon, so it wasn't really well received. But also had in recent years, it's had a toy line company. I'm drawing a blank on it actually. I should know. Oh, it's Boss Fight Studio. So they created a new toy line based on these original toy lines to kind of spruce up and give it a little bit more articulation. So what I would do to bring this game to a different kind of mode, it would be a homage to the beat 'em up and to the platformer NES game that I mentioned. We need some more the Rare studio that created a lot of the N64 games. Now they're new. They haven't had much of a presence on Xbox lately. I think they had Sea of Thieves last, and they had like another project in the works. I forget what that's called. And I think they had a Battletoads that I never really heard much about after they released it. Maybe I missed it, but I haven't heard much about it since today. So what I want is it's going to be a total homage for my childhood for different games. What I want is it's called Bucky O'Hare and the Toad Wars still. The overworld map would be 8 different worlds, a la Mario 3, one of my favorite games. You would have a techno world, so it would go into like an ink world, kind of like Mario Odyssey. So you're totally playing a revamped NES game. You have a first-person shooter, because you have characters like, you have this guy named Dead-Eye Duck. He's a duck with 4 arms. I love my ducks, love DuckTales. He's a gunner. He's a violent space pirate duck. He's missing an eye. He has a Scottish accent, so give him a first-person Call of Duty type shooting level. What else would I have? I would have a sci-fi western world. I would have a prehistoric techno-organic world, so where the dinosaurs would have like robotic parts. I think Rare was creating the Star Fox. They wanted to have like a kind of like a dinosaur game, but then that became Star Fox Adventures, which wasn't very well received, so that they can take some of those prototypes and put it back into this game, and maybe it's going to be a little bit more received. You got to have the ice level. I would have definitely be like kind of Metal Slug on one of the levels where you can jump into different vehicles. You would definitely have homages to AT-ATs from Star Wars. They have a thing called the Toad Star. I don't know if that sounds familiar. Yeah, they have an Empire, they have a Republic, they have like, their main person is called Complex. He's a Toad computer that went haywire. He was supposed to do good at first, but he went haywire. And then you have inept Toad troopers that can't shoot stuff. You have a Shaquille O'Neal sized guy named a Toadborg, which is totally ripping off Star Trek, but I love it.
Amazing.
And you have the Toad Air Marshal that's kind of like your officers in Star Wars. So I would definitely have the Toad Star. I would have 2 inept Toad Stormtroopers. Let's call them that, because that's what they are. So they're wrestling over a control, like, because there'll be a giant, of course, to destroy planets or open up portals, and I'll have them wrestling over who gets to control that, and then they'll have like they'll mess up and hit the controls, and it'll open up a portal, and it will. At that same time, Bucky's crew is going to be racing towards the Toad Star to try to get back one of their friends. He's a berserker baboon named Bruce. A lot of, and so I got through. He'll be captured, so they're racing. He'll be in their jail, the Evil Forces jail. They'll be racing towards it. They have this thing called the Righteous Indignation, and it's basically their Millennium Falcon. But they'll have to have separate spaceships besides that, because I want the crew to basically get the good guys, Bucky and the crew, to get scattered. So each of them will have to play a different level. They'll be designated to a different zone. So basically you have Bucky, you have Jenny, she's a cat with psionic powers. She has a jewel in her head. You have Willie DeWitt, with stupid name. Engineer, he's a kid from Earth that goes into a portal. He's basically becomes the engineer on their ship. Kind of like Chewbacca. You have AFC Blinky. He's a android with a giant eye, and then you have Dead-Eye Duck. Like I said, they'll be each in their own levels. And so basically, I want to have Johnny's really turned me on to David Wise and Grant Kirkhope that did a lot of the Donkey Kong Country soundtracks.
Yeah.
And if it's not broken, don't try to fix it. Would throw those guys into the soundtrack along with this person who worked on some of the Donkey Country soundtracks with them, Robin. I would have a toy line still, because if Boss Fight Studios is in the business of making Bucky toys, why not make it for this game? I would also have I would have a basic RPG element, and so you could level them up in just a very basic level with weapons, powers, and new abilities. And then I would have cutscenes, and I would go all out with the voices of Jim Cummings, Winnie the Pooh, Tom Kenny. I don't really have to say where he comes from, but SpongeBob,
a lot of things.
Frank Welker, the voice of Scooby-Doo, Tress MacNeille that played about every voice on The Simpsons for female, Rob Paulsen from Ninja Turtles, Pinky and the Brain, Ben Schwartz, and then Maurice LaManche that played the voice of Pinky.
Nice.
So I'll just stop there because I could go on. But basically, just like Sonic Mania had that like cartoon series, I would have a prequel cartoon series that's Appetite's Wed, because they're not going to probably know this.
Yeah, people aren't going to know a cartoon that was on for one season and a comic from 30 years ago and a video game that,
just exploring it has a deeper lore than I could ever think.
Yeah, for sure. So, it is obviously based off of a 90s NES and arcade style game. Would you have the art direction be kind of similar to it, or would you do more of a modern look? Like, how would you have the art direction? Would you, even if you had first-person shooter elements, would you still have it kind of be 8 to 16-bit style, or would you just have it be completely modern with like a modern 3D version of?
Yeah, that particular one would be a modern version. I'm not sure who was doing revival of the Battletoads, or who's really doing the revival of 3. It's kind of a cel shaded looking graphic element, and I would like that. Actually, touching on the Battletoads, I would actually, since they're already sitting on the property of that, I would love to have them meet them at the end of the last level. They would be imprisoned, and your team would have to fight them at first because they're frogs. That's their enemy, their toads or whatever.
Fun.
And then you can
set up a crossover game.
Yeah, you could team up with the Battletoads at the end of after you fight them and have your disagreements. There would be a cutscene where you basically rekindle your alliance with them, basically find out that they're not on the bad side, and team up. And absolutely there'd be crossover element.
Nice.
With that, this would be very expensive with that voice cast.
This sounds like this would be not like Sonic Mania where it's $20. This looks like it'll be a $60 game with DLC and microtransactions to make up all that money for how expensive this game would be. It does sound interesting as someone who had never heard of this series before you mentioned it. If they can make all those elements work well, that'd be nice. With you having Rare do it, that means it most likely would be on the Xbox only and PC as well. But hopefully,
maybe eventually they could share with the Nintendo
so
Switch.
hopefully, since Microsoft's been a lot more cool about things, they can share it with the PlayStation and Nintendo.
All a Cuphead.
Exactly.
Eventually down the line.
But yeah, all those games do sound a ton of fun. Maybe we should just be game developers, since we seem to come up with some better ideas than some of these other ones have now at eSonic Team. But that would be our ideas for a new video game entry for a franchise we like. So now we can move on to the recommendation of the week. Even though Johnny is not here, we are still going to discuss his recommendation last week of Middleditch and Schwartz, the Netflix comedy special, where those two just went off and just improv'd. And so we can't obviously ask Johnny why he did it. I'm sure just because it was funny and he enjoys those two comedians. But how about you start first, Connor? Why don't you kind of tell us what you thought on it?
Oh, I thoroughly enjoyed these episodes. He recommended episode 1 and 2. So basically, it's pretty simple. They talk to the audience for 7 to 10 minutes. They'll find like a specific group or a specific person, just ask some, context about their lives, and then they'll just take that and go on with it for 30, 35 minutes. All improv. It was hilarious.
It was insane, just all the stuff they came up with.
Yeah, dude. They had such great I really liked... sorry, I'm talking really loud because I'm excited. I really like how they had such a natural flow together. You can tell that they've been working together for years, because anytime they introduced a new character to their story, they would never have to pause and they would just it would just be such a natural flow with it. I thought their stories were never boring at all.
Their
They just
stories were so wild.
They
it
were
was like
every
funny,
single
like from getting married by a ghost or
the elements of the
aliens in the
supernatural
closet.
or the aliens, like the supernatural stuff I always gravitate towards, and it's like the out of that left field stuff.
Well,
is what I
and
love.
it's be like with Short Paul that you made love in 6th grade. Yeah, like just all the other goofy stuff they did. Like it was
Loving style, dirty style, nasty style.
it was just so funny that like just something as simple as, hey, yeah, I'm 7th out of 7 in the wedding, and you know most of the people we met in parking lots, and that turned into a, hey, here's a wedding that there's a ghost at, and
Batman-esque kind of background.
my
to
favorite
it.
too was anytime like they do something like just so crazy. The other one, like just you could tell that they didn't expect stuff either because they would just burst out laughing and be like, like the making love in 6th grade. Be like, you made love in 6th grade?
He gets up and backs up slowly.
The mistakes were the best. Like when they had, because I couldn't keep track of the characters when they got all like kerfuffled, if that's a word.
Yeah, and
about like trying to
the
keep their
names.
characters straight. And
In the
that
first
was hilarious.
episode when Short Paul and
Marnie.
Marnie were talking, and then Marnie was like, I'm Angela. And then like, I thought her name was Marnie. That's my sister. And it just like, it was, or just how they would keep flipping, like, okay, one of them would be this character now, and then the other one would be the other character then too. God, just everything about it. Yeah, it was a ton of fun. John recommended a great thing, so hopefully us trying to explain it doesn't turn you off from it. It's well worth it. Each episode's a little under an hour long, and so I was laughing a bunch. I watched the first one last night and the second one this morning, and it was incredible.
Yeah,
there
it was
3 total?
Such a great
Yes, there's a third one as well.
Okay,
that's on there.
because I just can.
Yeah, so the first one is a parking lot wedding. The second one is law school finals and aliens, and then the third one, the episode title is about like a dream job or something like that.
You guys got to get on that. It's
Yeah,
fun.
I'll definitely watch that. But
I'll probably watch that later tonight.
yeah, it was definitely a ton of fun.
What are you guys gonna rate this?
I will rate it 9 Stanley mansplaining and saying he's from Maryland out of 10.
Court?
Trying to even think. I would say like 9 to 10 can't keep their name.
And then Connor, what about you?
I will probably rate this 9 out of 10 incorrect Yu-Gi-Oh reference.
Love it.
That was
that was a
what
great
they were
one.
just like, does anyone still play Yu-Gi-Oh? And they're like, I don't know. But
I didn't know how they were going to incorporate.
they got it in
did.
there. Oh, yeah.
They certainly.
Just every single thing. Just when they'd find some random.
Yeah. So that means this week is Luke. It's your week this week.
That is my week this week. But also, since we do have Court on, if Court has anything he'd want to recommend, we can give him that
Sure
as
you
well.
want to do that?
So mine, as I hinted at on the last episode, is I found a nice long video about Sonic.
What?
Surprise, surprise!
Oh,
so
gosh.
there's a YouTube channel called Stuff We Play, and they have a series they do on that called What Went Wrong. And so it'll just go into detail about what went wrong on a video game that failed. And so they've done a handful of them. But the one that caught my eye was they did one on Sonic Extreme, which was the canceled video game that was supposed to be Sonic's foray onto the Sega Saturn. And this game just was a disaster from the beginning. Basically, this is Sonic 06 level disaster, but it didn't come out with just a billion different ideas. This game would have been Sonic 06 in 1996 would have came out.
They never had anything on Saturn.
They ported 3D Blast, and then they put out Sonic R, and then they put out Sonic Jam, which was a compilation of 1, 2, 3 Knuckles with Blue Sphere and Knuckles and Sonic 2 and all that. And then there's like a little 3D world you can run around as a 3D Sonic. But yeah, in terms of a mainline full adventure, no. There was
They just tried to kind of give some.
yeah, they just gave some filler while Sega was like, oh hey, the Saturn kind of sucks, and worked on the Dreamcast. So it's it's Stuff We Play, Sonic Extreme's Death in Development, The Art of Failure, and it is an hour and 11 minutes, almost an hour and 12 minutes, and it's quite enjoyable. It has 4 chapters in it: Life on Mars, Split on Saturn, Crash into Earth. So playing along with the Saturn and the project name for the game, Sonic Project Mars, and had a ton of fun with it. It also has a few different YouTubers who came and were the voices of some of the people in the documentary, which I always enjoy because it's like, hey, I know some of these YouTubers from their other videos and all that. So it was very interesting. Like I said, I watched it last week and was having a ton of fun. Plus, it also has some of the music that was made, but like that was like just development music that might have been in the game, and some of that songs slap like most other Sonic music does. So that is my recommendation, and I will send you guys the link to that, and so you guys can watch it. And then I guess Court will just have to message us what he thought on it, so we can talk about that next week when Johnny's back, and I'll just text it to Johnny. But Court, what about you? What's a recommendation that you would have for us then?
Yeah, if you guys do want to indulge yourself with this or have time, it's pretty lengthy now that I think about it, but it's enjoyable. It's a YouTube video from B-Mask. So he's a British YouTuber. He's made videos for Sly Cooper, Spyro, just like history. Like he even goes into Hill Street Blues, this old cop show. And so this is called We're the Fantastic Four. It's a retrospective.
Ooh,
it's quite
2
lengthy.
hours.
Yeah, I'm sorry if you
That's
guys
fine.
can't.
Yeah, it's an hour. I mean, we recommended movies, so it's basically a movie. It's an hour.
Yeah.
50 basically.
So it's basically a movie, but I don't think it's boring. I don't think it lags. It'll give you appreciation. Obviously, he touches on how Marvel crapped the bed with the movie. He gives you a insight on every character. I mean, you guys probably are familiar with Mr. Fantastic, but it's a deep dive. He also goes into their extended cast, the villain. He goes into like 4 different comic runs that you should know and why they're important. And he has voice actors voice, your character, Johnny Storm, your Ben Grimm. I think it just will give you guys a lot of appreciation of why this should be Marvel's focus in the future, and it has to be done well. He also touches into the joke that we make and jokes that so many other Incredibles, Fantastic Four movie that we've got. So he's hip to that. He knows that that's true. He touches on some of the cartoons, how so they were, how fun the 60s cartoon could be, even though it's very wacky and of its time. And that Connor kind of knows that I like the 60s era. It's cheesy as the dialogue is.
Oh my
I
gosh,
love
yes.
the Stan Lee. I love the Jack Kirby era of writing. I'm gonna get you, Buster, and all.
Talking out each and every thought they're having,
yes.
talking out each and every action they're taking.
Inner monologues, like pages that Stan will whip up. But yeah, I think it'll give you guys an insight if you guys don't mind yourself in that.
Yeah, might as well.
I don't think it drags ever, and I think it's pretty interesting.
We've had really good luck with all the I guess video essays we've recommended have all been really good, and that has all been Luke so far.
You had the music ones.
The music ones.
The sound editing ones.
Yeah,
Yep,
my
you're
bad.
right,
Yeah.
you're right.
So you had a couple. See.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have a nice variety. We've had full albums. We've had video essays on sound editing, video essays on Sonic.
I consider it an album.
And
but...
Tetris.
Oh, the Tetris one.
It was really good, actually.
That still was one of my favorites. Well, I mean, you're lucky. There was another video that I had found that when I recommended the Sonic 3 and Knuckles video, I had watched a different video before that on Sonic 3 and Knuckles that was an hour and a half, and I almost recommended that one, but it was kind of his last one out of kind of a series of like 3 or 4 Sonic 3 and Knuckle videos, and combined it was probably like 3 hours. And I was like, I won't give that to them.
Well, thank you. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to both of these.
Hopefully B-Mask will turn you guys on to others he did, because he does one called Scaling.
I'm looking at his channel right now, and
There's a Crash Team Racing one. I might have seen the CTR one. I'll have to rewatch it again because it's one of those once you watch the like certain videos, it'll recommend a bunch of other ones where like I watched before I bought my blue microphone. I watched a few different channels that did it, and then I still get some that it's like for Blue and HyperX and all those other microphones. It's like, and I haven't watched one of those in a couple weeks. Like, hey, here's some of the good microphones. So I might have seen his CTR one from last year's, but
I like the randomness of it, because he's like Kong Skull Island to like Hill Street Blues to heavy video content.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a good idea. You can there's if you find an audience who likes a bunch of this stuff, like we all are ones that like this is up our alley. Yeah, like I love Crash and Sonic and Spyro. And so, I mean, going back to Sucker Punch, he talks about Sly Cooper. So, like, you have a nice variety of stuff. People can watch ones on Better Call Saul. He had, in a stretch of his most recent 9 videos, Kong Island, Luigi's Mansion 3, him kind of going over some errors, looks like, from his Fantastic Four video and a Q&A. Fantastic Four, the Scooby-Doo video, another Luigi's Mansion one, Better Call Saul, Crash Team Racing. So, he has a nice variety of the games and movies and comics that he's touching.
Yes, it all looks like stuff that's right up my alley. So you probably, they're probably going to earn my subscription.
Yeah, Connor will probably be doing that. So we want to thank Court, though, for joining us on this special episode. Since Johnny wanted to be a nice boy and see his family, we were like, hey, let's have Court on. He did the radio show with Johnny and Connor back in the college days, and he is our number one fan and a big nerd, so you might as well have him on as well. So again, thank you, Court, for joining us as well. It was a ton of fun. It felt like we didn't really miss a beat with it, since you fit in very well. So we'll definitely have to have you on in the future as well. And
I really appreciate it.
Of course. So why don't you plug anything you have too, and like social media? I know you have your own podcast. Why don't you plug those real fast too, so any other listeners that aren't you will know where to find you.
Okay, yeah. Once in a great while, I do a thing. You can find me on Facebook, just Court Jensen. Find me there. Once in a great while, I'll do a podcast called Court's Retro Rewind Review. I love it. And I got through that one too without stumbling. So basically what I cover is movies I grew up with from the 80s, and maybe I'll dip back to maybe the 70s, and maybe I'll go forward early 2000s. Eventually, I've done about 17 little bite-sized podcasts. It's through Anchor, and I think, and you can also find them on Spotify on the same name, Court's Retro, and it just covers everything from, say, like Troll 2 to Tammy and T-Rex, all these weird movies that I grew up with, Mac, to like Heathers. And so if you have like less than 10 minutes of time, I'll spit off the good, the bad, and do fun flick facts about the...
There you go. You get some bite-sized content after you listen to our long episodes that we have. So there you go. That sounds awesome. What about like Twitter or any other YouTube? Do you post anything on YouTube as well, or?
Not so much on YouTube, but Twitter, you can find me at _Court81, and I'll also post my retro reviews over there and share a lot of stuff that I like and comment on people, so I don't have too much of a presence over there. But
well, there you go. So if you want to follow Court's social media presence, you can do that as well. Check out his podcast as well. But that will wrap up then episode 15 of Rocket Talk. So be sure to follow Court on his social media stuff. Be sure to like and comment on our stuff. Let us know what you want to hear. Maybe what you would have in your dream future video game, in your favorite series. We can go from there. Again, too, make sure you follow on Twitch at Rocket Talk Pod. I have been streaming there every few days. I'm trying to figure out exactly what day I want to be my main streaming day with my schedule, but
and he doesn't suck either.
True. I've played Crash Team Racing, Call of Duty Warzone, Black Ops 3, Zombies. I'm gonna probably be streaming Uno as well, and some other random PlayStation games I have just for funsies. And then I also will be doing a playthrough of The Last of Us on Twitch as I get ready for The Last of Us 2. So be sure to be on that so you can watch me play those games and ramble on about something stupid. So, haha. And then maybe one day Connor will be able to ramble on as well on his own Twitch videos.
I certainly hope I can. Yeah. I will play board games.
There you go. That'll do it. But that'll wrap up this episode. So be sure to tell everyone peace and blessings.